You have a large surface to pair like this scarf joint right here or a tenon for a through tenon. You can do the job with an 1.5 chisel. It'll actually, it'll clean that up and it will work just fine. However, on this bigger stuff, you're going to find that, either a 3-inch slick or a 2.5-inch slick really does nice work on this bigger, flatter surfaces. And the trick with any chisel is take just little bits at a time as you're flattening out. But you'll find that these big slicks are very handy for timber framing work and dovetail work. Here's our Start Hill chisel set. We've got an 1.5-inch chisel, 2-inch chisel, 2.5-inch slick, 3-inch slick. These are all hand forged. They've got a Cerakote coating on them. And they have this rounded shoulder grind, which is super easy for sharpening. Here's our 1.5-inch chisel. This is really the workhorse. When you get started with timber framing, start with an 1.5 inch. You can do everything you need to do for timber framing with an 1.5 inch chisel. All of the Start Hill Forge forward chisels have this convex, slightly rounded shoulder that makes it super easy to sharpen. They're 100% tool steel, so they're light and nimble, and they just hold up really well and cut really well. Next up is our 2-inch chisel. It's nice to have an 1.5 inch chisel for doing 1.5 inch mortises. And 2-inch chisel is going to serve you well for doing a 2-inch mortise. Now you can do a 2-inch mortise with an 1.5 inch chisel, works just fine, but it's going to go a little faster and be a little bit more effective with this. In the series is a 2.5-inch slick, and we find that we pull this out when we're working on larger surfaces. And you can see a slick has a little longer handle, a little knob on the end, and it allows you to get some body weight behind your chisel work. This is really nice to have when you're looking at bigger, flatter surfaces. I find myself using this quite a bit when I'm paring the cheek on a tenon. So this is our 3-inch slick. It works really well for dovetail work, and it's really nice to have for timber framing. With this shoulder grind, the convex shoulder grind, you can see that it just really does a fine job of... So generally, if we're going to purchase chisels, we're going to start with the 1.5 inch, because you can do everything in timber framing that you want to do with 1.5 inch. Next up is normally a 2-inch chisel. Going to make it a little faster, a little bit more efficient. 2.5 inch or a slick of some type. And then if you really want to dial it in, we go with 2.5 inch and a 3-inch slick. If we're cutting our mortises with a boring machine or cutting them or drilling them with a drill bit, somewhere in there we'll likely also purchase a corner chisel. Let's talk briefly about initializing a chisel. So normally when you get a chisel, you're going to want to sharpen it. Even these look like they're highly polished when they come to you. They're still going to need a little bit of touch up. On these Start Hill chisels, we're just trying to hit about 1/32 right on the end, and then just make sure the back right at the tip is flat. And then this ring is designed to keep your handle from splitting. What we'll normally do is you can cut this shorter if you want it just a little bit shorter. We're going to soak this end for 20-30 minutes in some kind of oil, a mineral oil, linseed oil, or anything like that. And then we're going to take a hammer and we're going to peen around here, just kind of peen the end. What we're looking to do is start a little bit of a mushroom, and then that mushroom will actually keep this ring in place and on your chisel. Before I figured that out, I must have lost 10 rings a winter with the temperature changes here in Wisconsin. It'd get cold in the shop, things would change, the ring would pop off. fall underneath something and, you wouldn't find it again. Where this technique of putting a little bit of mushroom on there is gonna keep that ring in place forever.